Council, are we ready to resume our proceedings? If so, please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The witness is being brought into the hearing room.
Chairman, Council Nininga from Parita, Pukan Sediaro continue. Ko Sedo Tata Kamanane.
Good afternoon, Mr. Badjie. Welcome back.
Inimbara, Mr. Badjie. Bismillah, Muruntanam Nyaming.
Would you like to continue in Mandinka or would you like to switch to Wolof or another language?
You
continue in Mandinka. Thank you. I would like to remind you that you're still under oath. Prior to the break, you told us about the day that the witch hunters came to the police headquarters in Banjul. You told us that they were led by Solo Bojang, who was a major at the time. You said you were the first person who was asked to undress. As the witch doctors used their mirrors and horns to inspect you as well as your office. You said after that, they said that you were clean. And they wanted you to accompany them to other offices around the police headquarters. You said you called Ken Mendy to accompany you so that he would write down the names of individuals who were identified. You told us that it was the Fuller witch doctors who led the way.
Inata fajanko ngimbua mutalal fulolu wole ngisilo tambital nyato.
Solo Bojang was also part of the group.
Solo Bojang fanandabe kafu kono.
You and Ken were also behind them.
Tening Ken fanambe koma.
And there were some armed men as well escorting you all.
Aning fanang sojarol bal koma inila jorangor kidolu ibal koma albitaka.
From what you said, it was the Fuller witch doctors who were pointing out the different offices. So essentially they chose which offices to enter. And whenever they identified someone, Ken Mendy would write down the name of the person. You told us that you cannot recall how many people were identified. And you cannot recall who was identified during that office-to-office search at that time. You said after a few offices were inspected, Solo Bojang and the witch doctors wanted to go downstairs and asked you to call your men. You said you called RSM Abdukoli. And you told him to assemble the men. Before you tell us what happened when all the men were gathered, I would very briefly like to show you the photographs that were submitted by Mr. Mustafa Sise yesterday during his testimony. So that you can let us know if these are the people that you recall visiting the police station on that day. Mr. Chairman, for the record, I'm referring to the photographs that were admitted into evidence as 0094, exhibits A to H.
Chairman, exhibitol din lafta min double la city aro kono andu ngeto sa fele ngin nombanga min to fote.
Mr. Badjie, for your benefit, I've included all the photographs, so it includes police officers who were lined up, as well as the goat that was slaughtered on that day.
Mr. Badjie, pour nge makoy ngi natalol nge dabulandi aning police wala natalolo aning ba fanang ye min ke sambaje wolongo fanang mo fanang natalo da ka fujele.
As well as photos of the Green Boys, the drums, as well as the witch doctors.
Green Boys no la natalo ti aning nin tantango ni min nata ngol be ka fujele kat isaje ke makoy.
Nga natalo jiwele.
Yes, I've looked at the photos. This one is the leading Marabu. He's the lead Marabu. He used to be with this man in front. That's the goat.
Brown color.
I think
brown or red
is either brown or red color. I can't remember properly. These are the things they wore.
It remains ngamira tantang kilinteje because
if I can remember properly, there were 3 drums. One of the drums is not on the photo.
Thank you very much for that. Can you begin your narration by telling us what happened when all the men assembled downstairs at the police headquarters?
When we came down, when everybody was assembled, both male and female police officers, both doors leading into the police headquarters were all sealed by soldiers who were armed. I said,
around 10:11.
I told him this morning, around 10 to 11,
the former president, who is the commander-in-chief, Yaya Jammeh Nkole.
The then former president, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Yaya Jammeh, called me.
Ko Solo Bojang
and
aning fula murole kanajang.
Said that Solo Bojang is coming here with Fula Marabus.
Ako, let us all comply with them.
He said, let us all comply with them.
Mumu balanta, niye mfwe balanta.
Anyone who refused to comply, let me sack that person. I told them that this is Yaya Jammeh's exact words. When I was saying this, Solo Bojang was there.
And the entire team,
the Fula Marabus were there with their entire team.
Let us comply with it.
I said to them, I am appealing to you, let's all comply.
During that address, did you say anything about the fact that people would be asked to swear an oath?
Kabring albo yo kumo kachakan police oli minube tembering ya tandila ko ibe kalindilale
honey, because what on temalong what would come up
I didn't make. I didn't say anything like that because at that time I didn't even know what was coming to happen. So I didn't make anybody swear. I didn't know even what was coming to happen. Even at that time, this goat was not even brought inside. I think it was inside the vehicle outside.
Outside.
At that point, did you tell the officers and the men what the witch hunters were looking for?
Wato kono fana o sojaro e police o minube lori be e minube temberenge ya fo ne nyin bua mororte ilafta munela lafta mun nyinila
na chilo manje made.
I cannot remember that.
Na chilo manje ma.
No, I cannot remember that.
Apart from what you've told us, do you recall saying anything else?
Yemi fo mole jang yaklo blata ko fen fanan foile mami fo mole ni jang.
As it possible, maybe Jandimbe Parela, na mind sitaka, because Nankari Al Qurano, and Malafika Femfo, me ala maso.
It's possible, but I swore by the Quran. But before I leave this place, whatever my mind comes back to or whatever I remember, I will repeat it here.
I could hachilo baka nga fuin ako mumu man comply. Need dismiss with immediate effect.
Yes, I remember that I said to them that the instruction from the former head of state is that anybody who doesn't comply, let me sack that person with immediate effect.
Wotumo solo na la mul bebe lorim because leftale kay tandilela ko amanken tetin temanyu nati. I'm under command.
By that time, Solo was there with all the entourage. And I wanted them to understand that this is not my command. It is not me who has ordered this thing to take place. I was under command.
And he was the president and commander-in-chief.
What I told them was that this is an order from Yaya Jammeh. He was the commander-in-chief and the president.
After your address, did anyone else say anything during that gathering?
Kabri parete la kachandirola fo mo diamta mo efem fo atol kono kabri ngalbe wo kachandirola kabri kel tembende
mala
no I don't
mala on hachilo mama bare mala fana in service ni IGFM fo mo be wulale ka chorus maybe solo as it possible solo fana as it possible fana diamo because senior officer
I cannot remember
as it possible like diamo barentela police command movement diamo no but as it possible solo diamo from until ni nata te position babulo.
From me as IG, I don't remember saying anything else. But there is a possibility that Solo might have said something because he came with these people and he was also a senior officer in the military. So it's possible that he might say something, but I cannot remember exact anything. But from the police, from myself or to any other member of the police, I don't remember anybody saying anything else.
After the address you made, can you describe the activities that took place? What happened next?
Menketa nyimfulol ni la tantangol inatalo tema nka parade kedame.
What happened was that these Fula men came with their drums and stood in the middle of the parade ground. They said, let people stand in a circle around them. People stood in that formation. They stood in a circle and they were in the middle singing and drumming. Those holding horns and mirrors were pointing at people. They were pointing those instruments at the people.
Few people identified.
They identified few people at that place there, at the parade ground.
Inata ngaje iko Kumbajata. He was then Malong Ninatale for superintendent or chief superintendent. But at Lebenum Banyan station as deputy commissioner.
Well, that's where they identified Kumbajata. I cannot remember exactly whether he was a superintendent or chief superintendent. but he was responsible as Deputy Commissioner for the Banjul area.
Inata ya Ibriye Kumba identify.
When Kumba was identified,
Inata for Kumba eko membe bala abondi because membe bala amambetea.
That's where they told Kumba to remove the things on his body because those things weren't good.
So inata for ntolmanya na kaje because amambetea puru moyaje.
At that time, they said we shouldn't see those things that Kumba had on his body because they were bad things and we shouldn't see them.
So inin Kumba duntaole nyama ala office auto.
That's how they went Kumba back into his office.
Because parade ground Tolbedam and in Kumbala office is less than even 5 meters.
Because at the parade ground where we were standing was less than 5 meters to Kumba's office.
Biri Duntala office after 10 minutes ifintitana.
When they went into his office, after 10 minutes, they came out with him.
Kilingonye ngaje Kumba bulo ba bultai, Kumba bulo mutate.
One of them was holding Kumba's hand.
Then ngaje fenko timpa bulo be Kumba bulo kono.
Then I saw the paws of an animal in Kumba's hand.
Timpa bulo nyin kamta ko dena ni bulo ay ngorengol soto ay bulu kondingol soto ala nyi.
The paws of that animal in Kumba's hand looked like the hand of a baby because it had nails on it just like fingers of a baby.
Then ngaje by then nyin plastic bag $2 ita many a calendar soto.
By that time I saw a plastic bag, the black type which had calendar on its
wo full plastic bag full baby farin safol.
Both plastic bags because there were 2 plastic bags but they were all filled with jujus.
Safedol bela mudol bulu.
Some were holding those jujus, some of the Fula Marabus.
Inata fintinan to the parade ground.
That's the time when they came out to the parade ground.
Yo timpa bulo ta ya bula fenko kono. Bare mem fango ya muta. Kumbada mala muta bulo kono. Mem fango ya pik. We mbusol ta ay mbusol dunga bulo kono ay timpa bulo pik ake mbus do kono.
So that the paw of that animal which Kumba was holding was in his hand, but the Marabu told Kumba to drop it. When Kumba dropped it, in fact, the man himself didn't pick up the object with his empty hand. He took the bag, placed it over that object, and picked it up and put it inside the bag.
Inata ya fo ngadula jibe ngadinkosi.
That's the time when they came and said, let's identify a location where we have to dig a hole.
It will fango tata for bunjango nying last year's member koma licensing dollar. It will fango eje identify ila muli jesi.
They went all the way near the office of the licensing department. Just behind there was an area which they themselves located and said they are going to dig here. When they dug the place already, that's the time I saw they sent someone who went to the vehicle and came with this goat into the headquarters.
So from what you're saying, Kumba Jata was identified at the parade, not at his office.
Comme be mi fokan woto Kumba Jata akamata ko yate chodi parade dulal kat loda mane tembe bara mankala office okono.
Ndenga menje mbelori ning alatema. Parade ground leng yate identify wolto e kay ko ngadung office e control alta amanko e membe nyimbula amambeti ya moyaje.
What I saw with my eyes between me and Allah, it was at the parade ground where they identified him. They told him to go into the office with them, and he went with them into his office. That's the time when they told us to go away, because the things with that man were very dangerous things. They are not good, so we shouldn't see them.
And we are a safol bondi walto. Office okono ateni gael. Because office onyin doyata. It will more war for war and in security men kata. Among possibly be doing cannot.
Because Kumba's office was a tiny office, so all of them cannot fit into that office. The 5 or more than 5 marabouts plus the armed men and the other people present with the entourage, they all cannot fit into that office. It was a small one. So some stood out, but he went in with some. That's where they took off Kumba's jujus from his body.
So from what you said, you weren't present when Kumba Jatta's jujus were taken off his body.
Kamunta itebe minsata kanja wolom itema mabi kabribe Kumba safol wurakan Kumba bala.
Ntema mabe because ntebe bantale. Lori mbundato wotu mwe kabanye nati mulbe dinka singola. So fongaje mundinka sifale be sinaje ani membe sare naje.
I was standing outside. I didn't see when they were removing these jujus from Kumba's body. What I saw was somebody went to the vehicle outside and came in with the goat. The reason for me why I stood outside was I wanted to see where they were digging and what was going to be put inside that hole. That's why I was standing outside to see what was going on outside.
But just to be clear, the digging that you're talking about relate to Kumba Jatta's jujus, which happened after, or are you referring to the goat that they were bringing in from outside?
Pour kumo yesedia fo ñin dinko ñi be min sinkan wonin kumbala ngin safo la ko le be ñola bang fo bañi min dundi nang e min nati nang wonin ko le be ñokan
Ani dol nin Kumba duntala office le.
Some went into the office with Kumba.
Ibala safol bondika.
They were removing his jujus from his body.
Whilst dolbe dinka singola ngadula memfoyi.
While some were digging that hole at the same time where I said.
Kilingo nyin tata ba nyin kama.
One of them went outside to collect the goat and came with it inside.
Birani babi nakan.
When he was coming in with the goat,
Kilingo nyin membe ba baikang, membe koma, kabo babulu.
one of them who was driving the goat behind the goat had a bottle in his hand.
Bare kabo nyin ji mulungale ba kono, liquid mulungale.
But the bottle was containing some sort of a liquid.
Inata so atara nyun fanam pareta Kumba bale fintitana.
When they came in, that was the time when these people also were ready with Kumba. Kumba also came out of his office with these other marabouts. That was the time they held his hand with the paw of that animal in his hand. They told him to put it down on the ground. One of them took a nylon bag and placed it over this object and picked it up and put it inside the bag.
At the parade ground, apart from Kumba Jatta, who was identified, do you recall anyone else who was identified at the parade ground?
Silang alla parade dula na bota Kumba Jatta ye min chodi foi hakilo se bula e modo fana min chodi min nin Kumba manke kelente
Nimanyina.
If I can remember.
Me long because headquarters ibuka mo belong because nindeta tambena office.
I don't know everybody at headquarters because when I go to work, I'm always in my office.
For Nimmen can deal directly, just like admin office.
Except for those I deal with directly, like people from the admin office.
Or the senior commissioners, Nimmen can meetings.
Or the senior commissioners, those who attend meetings with me. If I can remember properly, if I can remember properly, either 3 people or 4 people
finally
were identified at the parade ground.
Kumba was among them.
But Kumba was among them.
What about Sergeant Mustafa Sise? Do you recall him?
Sergeant Mustafa Sise.
As possible, but Mustafa ntemalo molkono.
It's a possibility, but I don't know Mustafa among people. I'm not acquainted to him.
Mustafa Sise testified before the commission yesterday.
Mustafa Sise, I said they are okay, Commissioner Konojang, yes, Kunu.
Did you have a chance to watch the proceedings yesterday?
Ndebuka jibe ntebe do kola ngamirat ite fangolente kol ikonye na mbembe na nga bebula nat and travel to how many kilometers kana?
Well, I didn't look at it because I was doing some work, but you called me and told me to come. So I traveled so many kilometers to come and answer to your call.
So you weren't able to see his image, and that didn't jog your mind, your memory?
Ite mang Mustafa nyingi na nataloje anim fanang imang hakilo mambula ko.
Other than kumbang hachilo yolema ngolo mol kono because nga kumbalong kabirimbita school.
Well, apart from Kumba, I know Kumba, we are acquainted because I knew Kumba since we were going to school.
Well, we'll come back to Mustafa Sisse's case. What about an inspector by the name of, sorry, just a second, by the name of Yaya Dabo? Do you recall him?
Kumbala kumbe murona na wakane. Bare silang inspector kami for Yaya Dabo. Wala kodung, imo wala kolo.
Yalong ningala pichoje. Dengan kali Quran la ningalo mbafule ngalon because menketa Yaya Dabu told siata jele.
Well, if I see his photo, I might be able to remember him because at the headquarters there were many Yaya Dabos, but I cannot just imagine and say that I know him. If I see the photo, maybe I'll be able to remember.
So I will call out a few more names to see if that jogs your memory. What about Yusuf Hassan?
Yusuf Hassan,
do you recall an officer by that name?
Yusuf Hassan ngaolone.
Yes, Yusuf Hassan, I know that man.
Because naido koke bara, mbedo koke kakoto.
Because I worked with him at Bara, I was under him at that time.
Do you recall if he was one of the people who were identified by the witch hunters?
Hani nta fonola because at that time ko kenle fengofeng identify la nimta. So birimbelori tolkata around ntebuka buleno mbelori ndame mbelori wolto mbeji berola.
I cannot,
mang hachilo ma yala metale.
I cannot say for certain whether he was identified or not, because when they started this identification, I didn't follow them. I just stood back and looked at them because they were doing the identification by themselves. What I did was I told Ken to write down the names of people who will be pointed out. So after that, I stood back.
You don't identify officer kono bare biri jitana. You all identify kotake.
Some were identified in the offices, but when they came down, those people were not identified again.
But their names would have been on the list that Ken was preparing. Ken Mendy.
Because nga assignment diatela pray bule noma.
Yes, because he was the man whom I gave the assignment to follow them and write down their names.
What about FRI Jame? Do you recall?
FRI Jame dunga ihakilo bulata tela kola.
FRI mu police advisor.
FRI was the police advisor.
Do you recall if he was identified by the witch hunters or not?
Hakilo se bulano fo nyimbuwa mutalala fo yate fanan chodile.
FRI. Tonya diata ala ngachiro mamad.
Well, truth to God, I cannot remember that.
What about Pa Silva?
Pa Silva la kodu?
Amira, Pa Silva, nche tonya diata alae, ngamwe mosaba, o nani, including Kumba, tonya diata alae, ngawole ta kalamta, barila nimso la metale.
Well, truth to God.
Be parenteni man familia, not a Pa Silva identify nyala, or fenke FRI. Ninna mind amutamba falan because ntebuke identify.
Yeah, because what I can remember exactly was 4 people, including Kumba. As for Pa Silva and FRI, if they were identified and I can properly, really remember them, I will say it. But at this present moment, I cannot remember.
We heard evidence from Mr. Ken Mendy, who was writing down the names. And according to what he said, the names listed were over 10 names. Did you see that Did you see the list after Ken Mendy prepared it?
Kabirin Ken Mendy pareta la o safero la kaito bala ye o kaito jeleba.
As possible ngaje.
It is.
I expect ninga instruction di mola na karet abe results nyindila na.
It's possible that I saw the document or the paper, because if I give an instruction to somebody to do any job, after when he is ready, he brings back the paper to me.
As possible ngaje barenga memfoye tonya di ata alai ngankari alquranulla. I malo mujellem barentela maine mu sabanani le muta.
Yeah, it's possible.
Barnako aketa tang o menta mitatana ba tela safi. Ntadi na inola.
Well, as far as he said it was more than 10, it's possibly true because he wrote down the names. But me, personally, the names that I can remember were the 4 individuals that I stated.
Iko muonani.
He's four people.
4 people nkaole moyo kwe ole point.
That's what I
But
had.
ila names all namanke kumba. Kumba ngalo ni is part of it.
Yes.
Kumba biria samba ntefango birata ate no maji. Akoya la safoldi ala. The following day ntefango jitale ntata foji.
Well, I can remember really, the name I can remember properly was Kumba. Because the following day, he went to them to demand for his jujus. Yes, that I can remember very well. But other people's names, I cannot.
You told us earlier that the list was supposed to be sent to Yaya Jammeh. Is that correct?
Ya funu mule jam folo ko ni kaito ni multo sa fedame nyanta kila ya Jammeh aketa wala nyam.
Nyanta names nying send la back to him and intel a conversation ye list o mendina nga names all nying fai.
Yes, we sent the list to him with my conversation. And the names on the list, I should have called the names to him.
Then behind telephone.
Then when he called me,
Ulungo suto fango
that night,
around 3-4 because normally I can take call from 2 o'clock to 5 or 3 o'clock to 5 every day.
around 3 to 4.
Or every 1 week or 2 days at dependently.
But usually he used to call me from 2 to 3 to 4 a.m.
Anytime I can call.
Anytime he calls me.
Then Brian call and names all Indiala.
So when he called me, I gave him the names on the
Over
paper,
the telephone.
Over the telephone.
We'll come back to that phone call, but do you know where that list is at the moment? Was a copy filed?
But I say lafta millo na wo tolo mimbe saferin kaito bara abe muntole trying.
I told him bring a name so Nindi because list him ben telephone. Bring a name so Nindi over the telephone.
The paper where the names are, I gave him the names of the people on the paper, but I gave him the names over the telephone.
Sutole fanamu.
It was at night.
Watu monte mantara kora fankoro because suto nkatu patrol like station all check.
Because I was not even at home that night. I used to go patrolling, going to the different stations.
Malong list onye nga Kenya men to nyadi ata alai.
The list, I cannot remember where I placed it. Really speaking the truth to God.
Okay, so let's still focus on what happened at the police headquarters that day. After what happened to Kumba Jata, you said that a goat was brought in from outside. Apart from the goat, was any other animal brought in?
Na bota wo ba yemin dundi nan korda kono police korda kono ye fo fendo fana bijele da fen fana ndo bije min dundi namba
Sise ulengo. Ye sise ulengo fana nati nane. Sise ulerengo.
A red cock was also brought in.
Yo natile.
Yes, that one was also brought in. Yes.
Can you tell us what happened to those two animals when they were brought in?
Silam fa safu no mule nginda fem flole minum natina mune kita wala
Ye biri ye dinko nyinsi.
When the hole was dug,
Ye kabo nyine follow sare.
they first buried that bottle in there.
Ye malo mungisi faleng. Ye obonje.
I don't know what kind of liquid it was, but they poured that kind of liquid also into the same hole.
Ye banyim fa.
The goat was slaughtered.
Yes, he said
The cock was also slaughtered. That's the time when they decided to bury the whole.
Solo na tankila kwenye IG foi na jande nkai muneketa akonye ko you are the head.
That was the time when Solo came to me and said, you have to come here. I asked him what's happening. He said, no, you are the head, you have to come here.
Then
I went and I was standing near them. Where the hole was, that's where they poured the blood of these animals.
Then fulonyimba foka mflakangoto solo ka translate ntolye akamemfo ngabulanoma ka repeat akamemfo.
The Fula was saying something and Solo was translating this to us, and he said we should recite after him.
Ntele folota yentele folota.
I was the first person.
Birinte botaje DIG fanang kalindiola.
When I left, the DIG was also brought and made to swear.
Aning senior commissioner Danta Ntenga Menkalam.
Plus some few senior commissioners, as far as I can remember.
And can you tell us what you were swearing to, what kind of words you uttered, as far as you recall?
Silang itala hakilu bulungi fesa funo mole albe mun kalikang albe mun kumale fokam fesa ol fono mole jamba
akumol siatale.
There were many things, but what I can still remember,
to swear on Kaliko,
to swear that you are behind Yaya Jammeh,
Banco Fanankoma, Republic of the Gambia Fanankoma,
that you are also behind and supporting the Republic of the Gambia,
and in Banco Dingol Koma,
plus the citizenry.
And we ita jamfala.
And you will never betray them.
Ite banko jamfala.
You will never betray the country.
Was that oath different from the oath of office that you would normally swear upon being appointed within the police force? Appointed to the police force.
Kalo. Finding kalo alkaminke Allah officer kono nibe takang doko wala foy ifata taleba
to nyaadi ata alaye dolbeje muluntale bare dolbeje mari membano because ni metani.
Truly speaking, somewhere identical but somewhere different because it was a long time.
Ni musanji tan ko malti.
This is just above 10 years ago.
Andung isa remember ko mantaranun nsawala fanang.
And remember that I was not in my right frame of mind sometime.
Because Ntol Bema Hani, former president.
Because candidly, we were all afraid of the former president.
I meant for Kaba Kela Kakele.
Whatever he says that he will do it, he will do that. The people were really afraid of him. If not that, I will not swear on anything like this. It's not possible. And nobody can push me into it. The reason why I told the RSM to call people to assemble, because we've gone through many problems and we came out those problems. If I want to explain that here, I will name so many people who are holding high positions in this country at the present moment, and they will not like it. Because if I haven't forgotten,
for bara incident I police only and police NIA custom drug squad I be by them and for Charles not feel member menka kanaji mine.
Because at the Bara incident where Amdalai incident where he sacked people from the customs department, from the police army and NIA because of the man who was responsible for the Kanaji incident, where the Kanaji mines.
That Keonyi Kafai Charles not feel ya Bele Aborta.
The man was called Charles Notfield. He was bailed and he ran away. He absconded.
But I take a wrong concept, Lesotho. I will buy.
But he had a wrong concept and sacked the people who were doing the work at the time.
Bring information, so the Interior Minister called Usman Sonko.
When I had that information, I called the Interior Minister, Usman Sonko.
Other security service chiefs Dolphin call Kafwe.
I called other security service chiefs and I gave them the same information.
What is happening?
I told them, let's come together and go and meet HE and tell him what's happening.
It will be it will outright.
They all said they are not going to be part of it outright because they said they are afraid.
Then Wulta Ole Nyama Ndata direct State House.
That's how I got up. I went directly to State House. And I told him that I want to see you.
Wotumo Point newspaper lebembulo.
By that time, I was holding the Point newspaper with me.
And we are published Jeko Charles Notfield Kanata Dameng. Bale beje banning as a possible bamboo lebeja across the Dameng Kata.
And what was written was that where Charles Notfield escaped was a stream. And in that stream were crocodiles who were living there.
Birin tata ngafa nkaeko sa nkaeko yenyu remember that's not the area.
So
Nkai amdalai Bateje Jemu Bodalti Lanle Nkai Dulani Kadamen for is Carton Halakin Carton La Crossing Point. That place, police station, is the soldiers that are occupying that place.
When I went to him, I told him that there has been a mistake. These people were Kartong who were there. Kartong, there is no stream at Kartong.
Amdalai.
There is no stream at Amdalai. The stream existing is at Kartong, and that place there are crocodiles living there. And that place is being occupied by soldiers.
What else do you want?
He asked me, what else do you want?
With respect, reinstate.
I told
then
him,
we redeploy them to other various areas.
I told him, sir, with respect, let's reinstate them and redeploy them to other areas.
Then DG Immigration, Sako Drame was in the DG Immigration, Kaba Tambaja was the DG Customs.
Then that time, Kaba Tambajan was the DG Customs and Sako Drame was the DG at the, where?
Sako Drame Immigration.
Sako Drame was at the immigration.
Kili it will be in our office, na incident nyemfoi, ibe contanta, the following day, boys will be not in the office. Transfer to other areas.
I called these people, they came to my office and I explained the whole incident to them. They were very happy. And they called all these guys who were sacked and they all came to my office. We discussed, and they were reinstated.
Advice.
If you give advice to that man, the big man, he becomes angry. It's very difficult to work with him.
So, Mr. Badjie, I just want to focus still on what happened at the police headquarters.
Yeah.
Mr. Badjie, after pulling nyatili, call Minketa police headquarters.
You said some of the oath that you repeated is similar to what is in the oath of office for police officers.
Iko kalidol kono imuluntale ninkalola leka minkenu ngala police headquarters.
And some of it is different.
Dol fatatale.
So we can assume that swearing allegiance to Yaya Jammeh was definitely not mentioned in your oath of office as a police officer.
Kamunta ko silang janga basena la mako kakali pruke ngani odi Yaya Jammeh aning ale kalo minke officer kono manke kelinte.
You said that was one of the things that Solo Bojang interpreted for you to follow.
Iko long kuolti mi alon ko Solo Bojang wole kanna sori ite atelier.
You've told us the reason why you swore an oath was because of fear at the time. You told us that you, as well as some other senior officers, had to swear that oath. What about the rest of the other ranks and men at the police offices? At the police station,
police headquarters
Truly speaking,
na hachilo e mendina.
What I can remember,
as if possible doli kali, as if possible dolte kala.
It's possible that some took the oath, and it's possible some didn't.
Because all situation no benyaming.
Because the situation existing at that time there, everybody is careful of himself.
The slightest error
The slightest error that you commit and he happens to hear it.
And remember ala right handling. Directly.
And the man present there was his right hand. He was walking directly for the big man. You have to be very careful. All of us, well, we didn't like it, but nobody has any choice.
You mentioned that there was singing and drumming. Do you recall what language this was done in?
You know, ika donkil jama for in different fenko. But what mo tonya di ata alai. Dela main mang hachilo to donkilolto.
Well,
because cool keta nyame anin cool nata nyame. Iduntan kande param. Dela main kadamen jibe. Anin kela mo yin donkilola would be different. But engalo fula donkilole ka fula ni mani ka donkilol.
Interpretation.
Well, they were singing in Fula. What I can recall at the moment was that some of it was in Fula, some of it was in Mandinka with the drumming. But at that time, how this whole thing came about was so surprising to me that sometimes I don't even think of those, what they were doing or what they were singing. My mind was focused of what was going on, what is the consequences of what's going on. This is what I was thinking about. But I didn't focus my mind on the language or what they were saying, but I can say that they were singing in Mandinka, sometimes in Fula.
As you were watching this entire process unfold, considering that you were the IGP and this was your office at the time, what was going through your mind as you and the rest of the officers were subjected to such activities?
It was painful to everybody.
Malta.
People were ashamed. But nobody had the daring mind to talk. Even to speak undertones, nobody had the daring mind. Because nobody trusted each other.
Keba asi the most junior officer called in the force.
He can call your most junior officer in the force. He will ask that person, how about Mr. So-and-so? Or he will ask, what about when these people came there? What was the situation or what was the behavior of...
Plain clothes officers, Jamale Fanambeji.
And there were a lot of plain clothes officers who were present. So one has to be very, very careful. If you do something which is not to his liking and he hears about it, especially for me, if I had done something or said something, I wouldn't have been here today.
After all of this took place, did you give any other instructions concerning the list of people who were identified?
Silang nyinkaito minto tol safeda me ya maro dile ko nyinkaito be kala nyame ba wala wo mul ko be kala nyame.
Birin tata paredula ngaya marodi walto before you start.
When we went to the parade ground, that's where I spoke and gave my advice before the whole thing started. I told them,
solo kina solo fele loring, ikwe mumu identify isi fan samba ila dulato Baba Jobla office. Baba Jobla residence around Jang, Maroon supermarket.
I told them here is Solo Bojang. These people were sent by the president. And he said anyone who has been identified has to go to Baba Job's compound near the Maroon supermarket.
Yetaje mumu balantatala.
You go there.
The instructions is from the president himself to me, not to anybody. That membalantatala mumen filter to comply ngamari by immediately or heads would roll.
The instructions came from the president. And the instructions are that anybody who refused to comply with these orders, let me sack the person immediately.
You told us that
Heads will roll.
Heads would roll.
Oh, heads will rule, yes, okay.
You told us earlier that the next day you went to Baba Job's compound. Can you tell us about that?
The following day, biringa mo kumba da maltata tatala safol noma ngaru momoy ndebe steering kotu ja next to Kotu police station birin jita na rek man konton continental wal nyama tata baba la dulato.
Truly speaking, I heard the rumors that Kumba went there alone to go for his jujus. So I live at Kotu near the police station there. So when I closed from work immediately after having my lunch, I decided to go there to see the situation.
Birin tata ndata fo bundato.
When I went there up to the gate of the compound,
nga solo fagole call.
I called Solo himself.
Wotumo abe the former president Bamala Korato Kotuja.
He was at the former president's mother's compound at Kotu.
Wotuma atebeje mafangole atelente direct akonye tani tamita Maroon supermarket la. Next Johnson on the left, ni tonta I think second or third compound on the left akonye galbe world.
He directed me to the compound Solo. He told me go up to the Johnson, which he identified to me near Maroon supermarket. He told me if you bend at the Johnson, either the second or third compound, that's where they live.
Birin tataje.
When I went there,
ndunta bundanyinto nga security letaraje.
When I went into the compound at the gate, I found security people there. Some were armed with guns.
With AK-47.
AK-47 rifles. Some were there, but they were not having any guns.
Officers only and compliment.
When I arrived, the officers complimented me. When I went in, when I went in, I saw people. My mind cannot take what I saw to proceed inside. That's how I came out and left.
Can you tell us what you saw? Give us a description of what you saw.
It is something very, very sad. Something very, very sad.
Ila alpha, ifa or iba, I try in that condition.
Because nobody will take that situation to allow your mother or your father to be in that condition.
This is what I phone on. I explain all that because
that's all what I can say. And there were many people, and some of those people can be my mother, some can be my father. So this is why I cannot explain.
Are you referring to civilians?
The people who were abducted and taken to that compound.
And from what you recall, did you see a lot of people, or was it less than 10 people, for example?
More than 50.
There were a lot of people. In fact, I can say it was more than 50. Somewhere inside the hall. Somewhere in the hall. Somewhere in the hall. Somewhere outside in the compound gate, in the yard, and it was many. There were many. There were many. Really, I cannot say how much, but there were many.
And in terms of their condition, what do you recall? How would you describe their condition?
Itola Kenya benyame. Fuisi hakilo se blano ya fu moli to ite tolje nyadi le o moli ye nyadi le no.
Ibe condition o mento ntete son nambani mfa etara condition. To nyadi atala.
The condition I found them in, I will never agree for my father and mother to be in that kind of condition.
Ila condition ye mambete ato nyadi atala.
Their condition was terrible, truly speaking.
So this was on the day after, the following day, after what happened at the police headquarters. And it must have been after you finished, you closed from office, is that correct?
Sila kamunta ko nying kuol kita asomo kabring ipareta alla kordato police headquarters. Andunga fana abekela watu minete jita duko wala.
Ha, tuonyale asamo dal namaini ole muta.
Yeah, I can remember that it was the following day after they came to the police headquarters. Yes.
You told us that in between that, you spoke to Yaya Jammeh again. This must have been around 2, 3, 4 in the morning regarding the list of individuals who were identified.
Yes, that's true.
Apart from reading out the list of the names of individuals who were identified, can you tell us about that conversation? Did you discuss anything else?
The same thing I always for you. Akonye mumu man comply, are dismissed or heads would roll. Ye mumu identify a man son kataji.
The same thing he told me before was that anybody who didn't comply with those orders, let me sack them immediately.
As a result of that, did you take any action when you returned to the police headquarters the next day?
Silang ite fanang kabri murta nang alla police headquarters is yo kelebang komate ya maro mindile ya tamandile.
Very murta nang at that time asinindingo mao ya marota.
When I came back the following day, up to the third day, I didn't follow those instructions.
Because ngalo ne membe caring silante.
Because I knew what was going on was illegal.
Mfanang koriole.
Well, what I did was against my will.
Then after...
During those, sorry to interrupt you, during those 3 days, were you aware of any of the police officers refusing to go to Baba Job's compound?
Ya kalamtele ko police do bal kono min balanta kata Baba Job la korda kono.
Ma kalamta because ntema modi lela e escort. The instructions is itai faye taji. So ngamira after tili dantang nata mweko kilimbeje amanson kata.
Well, I didn't know about that because the instruction was that let them go by themselves to Baba Job's compound. So, and I didn't give them any escort to take them to Baba Job's compound. But a few days later, I heard that there was one person who refused to go.
You only heard about one person refusing to go.
Exactly, because the junior officers buka communicate.
Yes.
There is a linkage. Link bejele nteni junior officer tema mole beje mbukate ya direct kadiamwe.
Yes, because I don't talk to juniors directly. There is a command system, a chain of command. There are people between me and those juniors. Well, but for me personally, I don't talk with those juniors.
So after Tili Dantang, Keba and call Nkaiko
After,
Mobe comply tale Bareko one officer.
well, a few days later he called me and asked me. I said to him, well, everybody complied except for one officer.
Eko one CC Mansonka comply.
They said one man by the surname of Cisse refused to comply.
Akonyeko then let him go. Dismiss him with immediate effect.
Then he told me to dismiss the man with immediate effect.
So, Birim Murta headquarters,
When I went back to headquarters,
nga instructions di barenga di menna malong tonya diat alay nkoya charge aita only room na.
I gave instructions to someone, but I cannot remember who that person was.
So
I told them to charge him, let him go to Audley room.
So biriya samba Audley room yari fana fa futata ntema.
When he was taken to the Audley room, they referred him until he came to my office.
Instead of car dismiss,
Instead of sacking him or dismissing him,
maokede
I didn't do that.
nga demote,
I demoted him
nga transfer
and I transferred him
up
up
purai jamfa janna.
so that he can be far away from this area.
Aningi demote
And if you are demoted,
6 months time
in 6 months,
nkela rank ni murundi male.
we reinstate you and give you back the old rank that we are demoted from.
Niaje nga bondi within Banjul.
The reason for taking him away from the Banjul area,
Malafi.
I didn't want,
Yemuru kebaya ekai ko kari balanta still have headquarters umuntela problem all.
so that they will go back to him, the big man, and tell him that, well, Mr. So-and-so refused to comply, but he is still within the police force and he is around Banjul here.
Na long ntemanyin dismiss yung. I only demoted him.
If he happens to know that I didn't dismiss the man, I only demoted him,
Maybe kudole fanambe kelantela.
maybe something will happen to me.
So fongana discretion use ngang hachilo use ka move aita nga samba dameng
So that
ma samba puru ka batandi but purai jamfa jana because nie keba long ike hachilo tubakele.
I took him away, far away from the area. I didn't mean to make him suffer, but I wanted him to be away from the eyes of the people around here. Because if you know the big man at that time, you will have to always take care of the way how you deal with him.
You told us that, in general, you would follow his orders because, essentially out of fear.
Yafu mule ko janko. Alla yamaro al-kakil al-katale katungal manghanyala.
But on this particular occasion, you chose to disobey and, in a way, alter that order. Isn't that right?
Re nyinsilo kang ibalanta alla yamaro ta ya yibe te nyam ibala la nyami.
Why did you feel that you could do it on this particular occasion?
Nana yaje ko abajari la priyo oke nyinsilo to.
Niaje yalong kebala kuol.
Well, the way he does his things,
Wado
sometimes,
nabe in the good mood isi diamunwai.
if he is in good mood, you can talk to him.
But namantra in the good mood ita call la faname call.
If he is in his bad mood, you don't even dare to call him or he will not call you.
Near call ke operator ntol niye nyo understand le.
If
Na be good mood ikafonyele na fenketa ikafonyele ani biabula for next time.
Because the operators at the switchboard, we understand each other. If you call, they will tell you, well, he's in good mood today, one can talk to him. But if he's in his bad mood, the operators will tell you, hey, leave this thing until another day, because today he is in his bad mood.
Biri nyinkate kala nga transfer ntenga ole ke nga dimut bare keba e memfo make bare mfana nduata le keba kana long na long ko ngake nka memfo ntafola.
Well, what I did was to transfer this man, demote him and transfer him. Really, I defied his order. But I also prayed to God for God to take care of me and the man. But if, had he known what has happened, I wouldn't have said what I did, what I said.
Ala order Jamal bejele wati do Jama fangode nke defile.
There were many orders sometimes that he gives. I defy them.
Na fo nyenka fa ne nyinata. That's the only excuse nsimendi.
Then he tells me and asks me later, what I tell him is that I have forgotten. That's the only excuse I can give him.
We heard testimony from Mustafa Sise
CDRO soto janne kabona Mustafa Sise
that on a subsequent day, I believe it was the 16th of January,
ko lundolum anesota ngalong anyant akela January karol kono.
so that would have been 2 days after the incident,
Namra wo kabdun ku wo keta akola tilifula kola
that when you were informed that certain soldiers refused to go to Baba Job's compound,
kabring ite ye kibari ko sojar dantang balantale kata Baba Job la korda kono.
you took the list and started calling out the names
Ite narana kaito ta tol bisa ferendameng tol komando kumase
and directly ordered the soldiers to board the truck and go to Baba Job's
natna
compound.
kango di ko wo sojarol ye dung troko to kata Baba Job la korda.
I apologize, I meant police officers, not soldiers.
Mbayam fo dan la mbe police la ko mul fo kanta manke sojarol.
On top of that, the testimony
CDRO ngamin soto jang
of Mustafa Sise alleges that you asked them
kabona Mustafa Sise ka ko ite fangole ayetu me ko ite le fangole nyininka
him and Yaya Dabo to write a personal statement
ko pour ateni Yaya Dabo pour ye safero ke kuma kanol safe
and thereafter you instructed that both him and Yaya Dabo be charged.
wo ko la inata fo pour ye tumi ateni Yaya Dabo.
What do you say to that?
Saying ite mune soto pour ko fon toleja.
Council, it is not ethical. Denga bonna office. Ngaji na mfoduma kadiamu esajini. When chain of command beji fonga nyobunya. Mo jamale bentening sajino nyintema. That's jamale bentema. It is not ethical.
Well, that's not ethical because there were many people between me and the sergeant. So that command cannot be directly from me to the sergeant. There were many people between us. That's not ethical. That's not the way how we operate.
Until the security setup muka operate wanyama.
The security setup there, we don't operate like that.
The DIG is there. So many commissioners, kata RSM. If I need any message to translate it, either I communicate to DIG or Commissioner Operation or RSM or Commissioner Admin. Bontina direct to a junior officer. Ngafa I could do this.
There were many senior officers. You have the DIG and many other commissioners who can relay messages or do something. But I cannot just come to a junior officer and talk to him or deal with him or give him orders. That doesn't happen.
But you would agree that there are instances where, as IGP, you would address police officers directly.
Bare be sonal ko wad kasoto ite fango mbo ite long IGP ite le kayamaro di minube koto.
Take a police address on parade ground on Monday only.
I address the police officers only on Mondays when they are at the parade ground.
You would also address them if they were charged and then brought before you for orders, isn't that right?
Ibe kachandele fanang ni etumi ni nati inyati lingoto ite fanang be ikachandela o tole fanang.
Jandi be futalantema eka follow ela SOL orderly room, OCs yeta orderly room, from OCs to Commissioner Operation or Deputy Commissioner Operation, then DIG or futantema.
Before they come to me, they have their own SOs. They start from those SOs or come to the commissioners or even to the DIG before they arrive at my place.
Telling the last person to near Futataji, I go through the minute file over and in the charges membeje, then a final decision.
Well, when they reach me, I look at the file, the charges on the file, and whatever is recommended there. That I am the last, at my place is the last place, then that's the time when I'll take a decision to do what I should do.
And in such an instance, the officer would appear before you in order to receive your orders, isn't that correct?
Oka ning police ning be nale idankuletel prika ning tumirol nin ilamoyete bulu.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm asking this question because initially I know when we discussed Mustafa Sisse's case, you did not recall any
Kabringa
orders
Mustafa
being
Sise la
issued.
kol kacha ihakilo mombula
But when I
kango dile dun.
Tonyale, nkaeng hachiro mama.
Yes, that's true. I said that I cannot remember.
And when I provided his police file to you, you were able to go through it and then confirm that that is in fact what happened.
Kabringa la police file ngindile nata police file njibe ka kurasi nata senende ko ha mu kulet min keta.
Tonyale.
Yes, that's true.
So my question with regard to Yaya Dabo is whether the same thing happened, whether he was charged, and at some point his charges were dropped. Do you recall?
Sain tala ngini karo mi molom ya Dabo la kol. Ko fo wati sotola aliya 2 mile andung ala 2 molu na alnata bonda akang fana.
What I'm saying is
Yaya Dabo fa charge tao fa man charge.
Yaya Dabo, whether he was charged or not,
Ani menyanta tala imanta ntema kalamta ntebena office le.
and those who should go for bathing and those who refuse to go, I cannot remember. I don't know. I was in my office.
Ntenga hachilo e mem muta me iko mem balanta kata.
The only
Wole nying siseti.
The only person I can remember whose report was given to me that he refused to go was this Mr. Sise.
Okay, very well. Let's move on.
Continue.
Apart from what happened at the police headquarters,
Na bota kol min keta police headquarters.
are you aware of the activities of the witch hunters in other parts of the country or in
Yeah.
other institutions?
Ya kalamutale nyimboa kol min keta bankola karadolto.
Tonya diata alai.
Truly speaking,
Ngamwe itata dula jamal leto.
I heard that they went to many places.
Alo mulka diamule.
People talk.
Fotonyale fotonyante ngamwe itata sintedle.
Whether it's true or not, people said that they went to Sintet.
Ngamwe itata jambur.
I heard that they went to Jambur.
Ndefa. Ngamwe itata nyomi fanan.
I heard that they went to Nyomi
And itata department jamal to fanan.
and they went to some department, many
Bare
departments.
nene man singolo hani sate kilinto.
But I've
Hajiteje.
never gone to even a single village or place because it's not my business.
Anun security menbeje
And the security people present,
iman tarante koto.
they were not under me.
Tonya diata alai nene man
Truly
singolo
speaking,
bulato.
I have never gone to those places.
Nkamwele bare nene maje weta e momuta no.
I just hear about it, but I've never heard them arrest somebody.
You heard that they went to these villages. Were you told what they did there?
Ya mwele ko itata nyi satel to foya foile ye munekeje.
Ah, according to room on kame moy. Yalo nying normally na tata nyama.
The rumors that I heard, normally if it goes the right way,
The police is section sotole called the criminal intelligence.
the police has a section called criminal intelligence.
Itolle nyantaka information o dintela always.
They should have been supplying me with information always.
Proper information me along ko ya investigate le ya verified and they will submit it to me.
Proper information that has been investigated and verified, those type of information they give me.
But at that time, mote hanyila yo ko investigate nida kabula ko noma.
But at that time, nobody dares to investigate or to make follow-ups about that thing.
And neneman such a report sort of from the CIU.
And I never had any report like that from the CIU.
Diamo e kawle moirek.
You just hear people talking about.
What about your family members? Were any of them attacked or did they suffer any consequences as a result of the witch hunters?
Itala dimbaya dum fo mo be ekonomi alon ko ya defana e boita kan ne wala man torota nying bua mutakol kono.
Tonya diata ale.
Truly speaking,
They made Nebota headquarters.
the day they left our headquarters,
Biriente check for paretambala.
after they checked me until they were ready,
Ikonye ko
they told me
lafta tala ifamala korako.
They said they wanted to visit my father's compound. When they said that, I asked them what is the matter. They said no, we just want to go there.
Then the following day,
they went to my father's compound where my mother was living. They searched the whole place. They didn't see anything. They went to the kitchen. According to their statement, they said they found a horn there. They went to our neighbors and went to other places.
Thanks God.
Thanks to Allah. They didn't give those concoctions to anybody there, but people were really in fear.
Do you know the reason for the witch hunt? Did you hear any information as to why Yahya Jammeh had sent witch hunters to the police force, other institutions, as well as around the country?
For Nimbuako, ya alone ya ke munikama muni asabu ye Nimbuako ke nadi kasamba official to aning kata banko sate tomadol.
Tonya ngamemfoe.
Truly speaking, what I said.
Atelante kolo aninyuna dungo office auto.
The time he called me and the arrival of these people into my office.
Woman jamfa.
It was a very short time.
And
And I didn't ask him.
As it possible ngalom barenka memfwe hadama dingo manting.
It's possible that I have my own feelings, what I know, but no man is perfect.
As it possible fonye bareng hachilo mama. As it possible moe fem fonye hachilo mama.
It's possible that it's possible that he might say something which I cannot remember, or somebody might tell me something which I cannot remember. I swore by the Quran, but if I happen to remember anything from now, I will reveal it.
So are you saying that you did not hear any reasons given for why that activity was taking place, either from people within the security sector or from civilians in general?
Amunta ko itebe min fokan wolom ko ite malom munanna nyin kol be kekan hani akabo official to ani mol mi alon ko be satel dumiante mantra kunda do ko wala
mala reason London tonya diata alaye bare I could remember brimbenu IG ala.
I don't know the reason, but truly speaking, when I was IG, I will tell you the truth between me and Allah.
Mid farmer store.
When he went for the mid farmer store
at Somita,
we were sitting down at his meeting venue. I heard him saying that the indigents of Fonyi, anyone who is somebody who is a progressive person, they will eat you. If you happen to build a good house, you will not have the time to enter in that house. Truly speaking, I heard that from him, his mouth, at a meeting in Somita.
And GRTS consult,
if you consult GRTS and tell them the year, if those words were not edited and they still happen to be with them, you can hear that statement which was being interpreted in Mandinka because he was speaking in Jola.
And the statement that you heard, how do you believe that was somehow linked to the issue of witch hunters?
Because
Because what happened when these people were ready? Before they left, I confronted Solo and I asked him, Solo, wow, what is the problem? Why this?
ke bondi pour ke ka bondi bala ani momi alonko konin dabaro o kortebe bala imankende ay temalo isa bondi no akola na nyunata.
Well, he told me that, well, the reason for these people's coming here is that people who are bad, who are witches and wizards, these people will be able to cure you and take those things out of your body. And those people who are sick, who had certain ailments in their bodies, they can help you to clear those ailments or sickness from your body.
So Birin Solo Fonye,
when Solo told me that,
Namira the statement of the former president at that meeting.
My mind went to his statement at that meeting.
Alama alayam for Kenya, alala long, but until mind, Tonya diata alay, na mind tata world.
May Allah forgive me, but that's where my mind went to straight when Solo told me this.
I want to make sure that I understand what you're saying. So from what you said, the president made a statement during the Meet the Farmers tour
Meet the Farmers tour
saying that people in the Fonyi area harbor some kind of ill will towards people who are succeeding, such as himself. And you believe that what Solo Bojang told you about these witch doctors being able to cure people, so to speak, is something that was targeted at people of Fonyi and other people who harbor similar intentions towards people like the president. Is that what you're saying?
Hani maofo.
I'm not saying that.
Amanke ko president with bad intention for the people of Fonyi.
It doesn't mean that the president has bad intention for the people of Fonyi.
Yalo yenyi nkale konye ko fwenene amwe adiamuta dulato.
You asked me whether I've heard something anywhere which I might hear.
Ola nankwe ko nenenganyi ndiamu mwe ala Fonyi. But amanke I bad intention to the people of Fonyi wanting.
That's why I said I had this in his statement at Fonyi. But it doesn't mean that I mean that he has bad intention for the people of Fonyi.
And amanke ko
and
I statement o men for walat na nyunat yalo enyine nkare nka explaining ko nenenganyi mwe ala le.
You know, you asked me, I explained, I had this from him at a meeting in Fonyi.
In
but
Somita, 2009.
In 2009, but it doesn't mean that that's the reason why he brought these people.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification. Mr. Chairman, I note the time, that it's almost time for the lunch break, but I wanted to allow Mr. Badjie to briefly summarize what happened to him after this incident, the witch hunt incident.
Chairman.
And so we probably need another 20 minutes.
Please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Badjie, before I ask you about your own victimization, considering your role at the time as IGP,
Mr. Badjie, jandimbe kontenela ke nyininka itela mantoro fana yemi sotoje ni IGP watu ite ibenu watu mine keta IGP te watu kono.
And what happened with the witch hunters coming to the police headquarters in 2009?
Anunkul min keta kabiri nyimbuwa mutalal nata alla kordato police headquarters.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the police officers who served under you at the time? Including people who were victimized, such as Kumba Jata and Mustafa Sise.
Mustafa Sise and Motomadol.
What I can say, few things in this matter. The coming of these people, I wasn't aware of it. I didn't. The reason for me to accept them,
Nkorioleng.
well, I had no choice.
And on directives from the former president and the commander of the armed force, Yaya Jammeh, wole direct.
And it was a directive from the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Yaya Jammeh.
Ndesimen fueno woleng mbenga munya.
What I can tell them now is, let's all bear.
Natra ntelenga nyun nati mba fuli yamfunye.
If it is me who brought these people, I would have told them to forgive me.
Natra ntelenge mindi mba fuli yamfunye.
If it was me who gave them to drink those type of concoctions, I will tell them to forgive me.
But nyemu service leti.
But this is a service
Defana Nkorioleng.
which I did against my will.
Itatan to la korda konole.
They have been to my own compound.
And the mantanyun la kordato.
And they didn't go to these people's
Defango
compound.
nata mensoto wole fango garauti toltati.
What later happened to me was even worse than what happened to them.
Nsafo alamansa tala wolente tankandi.
I would say that it was the Almighty God who protected me.
Nimutana mbewo explain then.
When we come back, I might explain that.
But nonetheless, at that point, you didn't refuse the orders, correct?
Bare hani wo nya o watul kono imam balang o yamarolla.
And you've explained the reasons why you didn't refuse that
Andung
order.
ya satale mini ya sabu ite mam balang ko kangol tamandi.
In spite of that, isn't there something you want to say to them because you weren't able to carry out your responsibility as IGP in order to protect them from that kind of
Yeah,
occurrence?
woleng ye yamfunye.
Yes, that's what I have to tell them. I'm pleading to them to forgive me.
Because watu asembo tembulu.
Because at that time, I don't have the powers.
Akango tembulu.
I don't have the command.
Ma muosoro.
I don't have the people.
Ajoran tembulu.
I don't have the weapons.
I was alone.
I was alone.
Interior Minister Badjie.
The interior minister was
Who
there.
was my boss?
Who was my boss?
Mubuka hanye kadiamu.
Nobody had the daring mind to talk.
Minister.
The minister,
Kalam talata afala ma kalam.
he was aware. He wouldn't say that he was not aware.
Nate muntela boss.
If he's my boss,
Atema action ta.
he didn't take any action.
And atele bentenin kebatema.
And he was the man between me and the big man.
Always ntelekataka keba face. Ninga faka fonye. I cannot join such.
Always, it is me who goes to face the big man. If I go to the minister and tell him, he will just say, hey, me, I cannot be part of this.
Defana nkapu jamale read between the lines.
So I read a lot of things between the lines.
Wala na mambalano.
This is why I cannot refuse.
Kaninte balantano.
If I refused at that time,
Kidol benyunu bulu ibeje.
these people were armed with guns and they were there.
Molmen nata is more than 50.
People who came were more than 50 people. I'm me alone. How can I fight people, that amount of people?
The police themselves, it will understand it. Natranung, ndengi bulol mutale ke force.
It was against my choice. The police, they themselves understood. If I had forced them.
But it came in for a, see, apologize, hence, it's my responsibility.
But what I can do is, as what you said, it was my responsibility. I will just appeal them to forgive me. They were under me. I should have protected them. I should have looked at their welfare. But I also tried. If I had taken his instructions, Mustafa would have been dismissed.
Thank you very much for that. Can you briefly tell us about what happened, what led to your arrest, as well as how you were treated while you were in detention?
Baraka bake ni ming formule silang bela fila purus kumo fonyi sutunke kuol min ketete la mantorol min ketete la anding mune asabu.
Unfortunately, we don't have much time, so but can you give us a good description of what happened?
Me, what I used to say,
secretly on behalf of people.
I had many problems with the big man. In fact, secretly between me and him because of other people. I used to tell him the truth, but he will not accept it.
Nka advice la bukata.
I used to advise him, and he will not take it.
But at the end of the day,
aka
jele nka challenge.
He sees that I used to challenge him.
Yemelante kang asia battle.
What they put on me, what I was accused of was a lot of things.
Ndesa phoning commission with the Gambian people mume.
What I can tell the commission plus the whole of the Gambian people,
Yaya Jammeh is behind until arrest not court na sorongo abe is Yaya Jammeh wala control.
It was Yaya Jammeh who was responsible for my arrest, my going to court, the trial, and my conviction and going to the jail.
Ya trial numpuru kante arrest atarante botanan Taiwan.
They tried to arrest me when I came from Taiwan.
Because ntata Taiwan le ngana development course keje, then I came with a double diploma.
I went to Taiwan. I did a development course there, and I came with a double diploma.
Birin nata nga submitaya.
When I came, I submitted those documents to him.
But ntemu kebalti.
But I'm an elder man.
I read between the lines.
And I always take care. I'm always careful because I read between the lines.
1 week.
1 week.
Nata.
After my return,
there
were a lot of talk.
The following week. Yaya Jammeh fangoen call.
Yaya Jammeh himself called me.
Akonye ko ta Antuman Sahoya, Minister of Ngamira Benung Water Resources. Antuman Saho, ex-marine officer.
He told me to go to Antuman Saho. He was at the time Minister of Resources, the man from the marine.
According to Atefango Kumol Memfa, Akonye.
According to what he himself told me.
You criminal olo na law police criminal keba.
He told me, do you know that criminal, that elder police criminal?
Nka sa ma understand. Akonye ko nka law criminal.
I told him, sir, I don't understand. He told me, you're that criminal.
Nka Juma akonye your former CMC.
I said, who is that? He said, your former CMC.
Nka Pamba akonye ha.
I said, Pamba. He said, yes.
Akonye ay cassette le dada.
He told me that he made a cassette.
Di Antuman Saho la.
He gave it to Antuman Saho.
Purungatata.
So that I can go and pick that up.
Nga panel form both police and NIA.
Let me form a panel, both police and NIA.
Yeah, matter ni investigate.
And let them investigate the matter. When I went there, in fact, before going,
the present Minister of Interior,
Yankuba Sonko, I called him. I called Malamin Sise.
He was then the serious crime OC.
He was the OC at the serious crimes unit.
Then Lamin Sanya, LS Sanya Kili. He was then the Commissioner Interpol.
I called LS Lamin Sanyang. He was the then commissioner at the Interpol unit.
Then I called Numo Kujabi, the director of NIA.
Then I called Numo Kujabi, the director of the NIA.
Then Ngafaiko Aning senior officer Nanisina.
Then I told him to come with 4 senior officers.
Betata Antumania and Bentaje.
We all went to Antuman and we met there.
Birim Bentaje Antuman Konye
When we met there, Antuman said,
Akonye ko Pambai le tata ka message di Yaya Jammeh la ko.
Pambai went and gave a message to Yaya Jammeh saying,
because senior Gambia police officers with military officers are engaged in drug peddling with one syllabus.
That senior police officers and some military officers are engaged in drug peddling with syllabus samate.
Surprise.
When he said that, I said that's a surprise to me. I said I never knew that this thing was going on.
But drug squad are a better office to investigate such drug activities.
I said, but the drug squad are in a better position to be able to investigate such activities. Because it is their job.
So but nonetheless,
I said, but nonetheless, where is the report and the cassette? He said, cassette, no, let me call Pa.
I call.
He called Pa.
Intending DG NIA and Sonko and others be steering office autoje.
Myself, DG NIA and Sonko, we were all in the office there.
Nga Pambaye aduntanang aning a Nigerian called Idrisu.
Pambaye came in with a Nigerian called Idrisu. When he came in and saw some of us, he was afraid.
Antuman kayako pa surua kangoto pa togal.
Antuman told him in Wolof, Pa, sit down.
Akai pa bi call na.
And told him that the Pa has called
Mune majo you investigate matter.
And said, let me give the matter to these people so that they can investigate the matter.
So Antumani report nyimbundi dinna.
That's the time when Antuman took out the report and gave it to me.
Birai report nyindina nga report read.
When I handled the report, I read the report.
There is no signature at the bottom of the report.
I saw that there was no signature at the bottom of the report.
Then this report is not authentic. Who is the author of this report?
Then I told Antuman, this report is not authentic. Who is the author of this report?
Akonye pala safe. Ngo pa magi yo yama train CID for 17 years. Nga sign out nga fire wanyama.
I told Pa, well, you are my elder. You trained me at the CID for 17 years. Then sign this document.
Akonye dede yobu konono nkai ko dede pa.
He said to me in Wolof, let me take it like that. I said, no, Pa.
Nkai ko pa nyin sign.
I told him to sign the document.
So Antumandi amuta enka anyone tentabita. So biri Antumandi amuta then I sign.
Then I said I was going to leave the place. That's the time when Antuman intervened and talked to him. After that, he signed the document.
Birai document onyin sign nkodi present Minister of Interior Biden at CMC nkai ko any NIA list alia panel of form alia investigate.
Then I told the present Minister of Interior, I told him to liaise with the NIA, by then he was the CMC, and told them to investigate this matter.
Yeah, investigation on for pareta.
They did their investigation up to the point when they were ready.
Yeah, file Aegis Chambers.
They sent the file to the Aegis Chambers.
Aegis Chambers nata advised the ko nga pambani Idrisu Samba court with one Charles Okeke.
They advised me to take Pambai and Idrisu to court with one Akeke.
Yarafang pa Charles Okeke pa yarafang ate I nte.
On the whole, Pa, starting with myself,
Kulute
Mane,
Atelen Deputy State Guard Commander right now, Ani Mama Tarseka.
He is the now Deputy State Guard Commander plus Mama Tarseka.
Mama Tarseka be Yundum Barracks.
Mama Tarseka was at the Yundum Barracks.
I told it to me, Pa told it to me, control Ninsila Baleka cocaine wafi.
Pa said that it was the two of us who used to sell the cocaine with Silaba Samate.
But report Ninton told TJ.
But our names were not in the report.
So, nata biringal pareta for opinion yin nata.
When they were ready, up to the time when they sent in their opinion,
nata jeko Idrisu, that Idrisu Masadi.
Then I came to realize that Idrisu Masadi,
2005, Birimbotanan Sudan.
2005, when I came from Sudan.
Personally, I was a chief inspector until Idrisu arrest on a murder case.
Personally, I addressed Idrisu on a murder case.
Ntelenga arrest at Kotu.
I arrested him at Kotu.
Nalha chiloba kang tubabu doleng ya fale ya samba sanyang ye lolandi ya jani faketa assist.
If you can remember, there was an incident. A white man was killed, taken to Sanyang, and they cut wood and put it on him. He was burnt to ashes.
Our girlfriend is called Kate Otori.
The girlfriend was called Kate Otori.
Honeybee have a prison on life sentence.
She's still in the jail on a life sentence.
Idris untelenga arrest biringa arrest ngala bungo search.
Idrisu, I arrested him and I searched his room.
Ngatuba bola pictures all taraje anala bank some of the bank transaction receipts.
I found the pictures or the photos of the white man killed in that house, plus some of his bank transaction receipts.
Because the
white man who was killed, that lady cannot kill him.
Because
even if the lady killed him, she cannot carry the man away, because that man was far more bigger than me.
So Nata, through investigation, Nata realized Idrisu with one Nigerian guy, Ninata Atola, was arrested at Bundung.
Then through the investigation, we later realized that Idrisu, with another Nigerian guy who was arrested at Bundung, the lady contacted these two people to kill her husband.
Because Keonyi wrote a will that now fata.
Because the husband, that man, wrote a will that if he dies,
Musonyi Sala properties beta both in the Gambia and UK.
So that the lady will take over all his properties both in the Gambia and in the United Kingdom.
Barasi menkeno asajani na jani asala sebutol ke kabokono akiala muli.
But what she can do is, if he dies, let him be burned and let them collect the ashes, put it in a bottle and send it to his people in the UK. The lady was in a hurry. She decided to eliminate the man.
So Idrisu in Kate's authority with that other Nigerian boy.
Idrisu and Kate Otori plus another Nigerian boy were taken to court.
Even in prison, they
were remanded at the prison. Plus the lady herself.
Up to a time. Idrisu Jabanta.
We saw Idrisu, he was released.
Musundingo was ya sorong asiodango.
The lady was jailed for life. When I was in jail, I even saw the lady in jail there until she even greeted me. Up to now, she's in jail.
Sorry, Mr. Badjie, I don't want to interrupt you.
Mr. Badjie, isi haketu malafike nyato kuntu.
However, I would like you to tell us what really happened to you, your own ordeal, because we don't have much time left.
Okay.
Because we know that you were, of course, arrested and some things happened to you while you were detained. Can you tell us about that?
Yes.
Yes, truly speaking.
NIA Alaji Moore and the group plan a Purukang arrest.
Alaji Moore and his group at the NIA planned to arrest me. They come up to my compound many times. When they want to sit on the right side, I'll tell them, no, sit on the left-hand side.
Prior to that, information.
Because always prior to their arrival or to their coming, I used to get information.
That if our plan can arrest.
That they are planning to arrest me.
Arrest as an IGP Daoda.
What I said was, whenever they want to arrest me as an IGP anywhere, then it is my corpse which will be carried out. We knew each other amongst ourselves.
For 2 weeks, for the 3rd week.
They tried for 2 weeks, up to the 3rd week.
Liz, Deputy Director NIA.
Liz, Deputy Director NIA.
I called.
He called me.
Address police officers mission.
That day I was addressing a group of police officers who were supposed to go on a mission.
There will be no extension. You go and come. Others will go.
I told them there will be no extension for anybody. You go, when your time ends, you come back, others will go. When I'm ready, Liz called me and said, boss, where are you? I told him that I am in Banjul.
DG ko ya jameko ngesamba prison ibe muntole na.
He told me that DG said Yaya Jammeh told him so that we can take you to prison. Come.
Wasomanda Atarante, I saw the intelligence there. Mosaba Menata headquarters.
That morning I saw about 3 of the intelligence officers who came to the headquarters.
I was well prepared for it.
I was well prepared for it too. I was ready.
So nkonna drive where nina oddly.
I told my driver and my oddly. I told them, let's go to the NIA.
Then Tata through the back door.
We went through the back door. We parked our vehicle and went in. I asked them, where is your DG? They said he's in his office. I went after him into his office. I said to him, Numo. I told him, whatever is going on, I know all. I told him, if Allah is only one,
Tonyale be sabatila at the end of the day.
The truth will always prevail at the end of the day.
So ngana odli kili.
I called my oddly.
Ngana nyinjaru fangole. Nyilamo.
The bangle on my hand.
And then you watch fango.
Plus this same watch.
And in rings dolbembala.
Plus some rings on my hands.
Nga bondi.
I removed all of them.
Nga di na odlila.
I gave them to my oddly.
Ikafa is Sambu.
He's called Sambu.
Akonye boss munekera.
He asked me, boss, what has happened?
Nkayeko iko yaja meko ensamba to prison.
I told him, they said, yeah, Jame said, let them take me to prison.
I was not dismissed.
I was not dismissed.
I was not charged.
I was not charged.
I was not cautioned.
Iman silandi mandew iman dandala.
Nga na bago diala nko nungwe acha alinsamba.
I gave him my bag. I told him, now take me to prison. Sambu.
Akumbuota.
He cried.
Nkayeko nga alata.
I told him, let's believe and trust in God, in Allah.
Then Numo Police Samba Umar Chamla office.
Then Numo told Liz to take me to Omar Cham's office.
Samba Umar Chamla office.
They took me to Omar Cham's office.
Nko yankuba mobile ola nga call.
I asked Yankuba to give me his mobile so that I can make a call.
Nga Interior Minister called Usman Sonko.
I called the then Interior Minister Usman Sonko.
Iko Ensamba prison. I have surrendered myself.
I told him, they said, Echi said, let them take me to prison. I have surrendered myself now.
Akonye ndete fenola je nkonka fwe ne nibita nyi ya kudola nkafwe abula. Ateka ajele as a challenge.
He told me that, well, I told you certain things to forget about them. But whenever you are about to go to this man for certain things, I tell you, stop it. But you see, there is nothing I can do about it.
So, nga telephone ring off?
I rang off the phone.
Nga di Yankubala?
I gave it back to Yankuba.
Not torturing.
The torturing.
I started Walter.
That's where it started.
Single handcuff.
They cuffed my legs.
Just take your time, Mr. Badjie, if you need a couple of seconds.
Single handcuff.
My legs were cuffed.
Sorry, yembulo handcuff.
My hands were handcuffed. After my hands were handcuffed, they decided to put my legs over it. They put in a stick. They hung me between two tables. If you can come right now and see, I will show you how the marks on my body, the torturing I went through.
I was bleeding.
I was bleeding. I was bleeding. I had wounds on my nose and mouth. All my clothes, my shirt was all torn.
Very seriously.
I was treated very badly. They were beating me. And I was hung upwards so that I will say yes. I have agreed to what they were accusing me of. They took me to prison.
Whilst
I was in the prison,
that very day,
or the following day, they arrested my wife.
Father arrest.
They arrested my wife's father.
Younger sister arrest.
They arrested my wife's younger sister. They were all taken to the NIA and detained there.
Kanding Labangobola, who was member Karise Karikononto.
My last child, who was 8 to 9 months,
among susu abamato na family be detained ringie.
That child was unable to suckle because my family all were detained. I was detained.
No statement was taken, a man charged, a man dismissed.
Just as I said, no statement was taken. I was not charged, I was not dismissed.
Again, the following day,
the following day, they came back again for me and took me to NIA.
On the right hand side.
If you go into their premises on the right hand side under a mango tree, I found a messenger there. That's where I signed my dismissal letter and I took it.
Back to prison.
They took me back to prison.
Prison out of communication.
Prison out of communication. No rest was given to people.
For atata tilidanta.
Up to some few days.
Inata yenkama koteke samba NIA.
They came for me and took me back to the NIA.
Mbeje iko statement.
I was there and they said that I should give a statement. There were some statements which I refused to sign. They took me back.
On the 9th and on the 13th of March.
I cannot remember, either on the 9th or on the 13th of March. At night.
Around 8:30 to 9 o'clock.
Around 8:30 to 9 o'clock.
The one-man cell, maximum security wing.
I was in a one-man cell at the maximum security wing.
Superintendent Alaji Job Nata Seloele.
Superintendent Alaji Job came and opened the cell. He told me, get up, we need you, because he's something who stammers when he's talking. I got up like that. I was even unable to tie the belt of my pants. He took me out. We went through the back door.
David la office inside the prison.
They were standing at David's office inside the prison.
Fluorescent light back at
There was a big fluorescent light on in the office.
It only expect the other gate, the main gate, the main wing.
They thought that I was coming through the main wing's gate. When I was coming out, I saw two people whom I recognized. They were operatives of the NIA. They are from Bansang. One of them is called Korkaba.
Bukar Sala and Korkaba.
Bukar Sala and Korkaba. If I can remember. Bukar Sala
and Korkaba.
Bukar Sala and Korkaba, they were in the army, but they were later transferred to the NIA.
Ndela futorek Bukar Sala na fonyin saba ni maskoli kamendum.
The moment I arrived, Bukar Sala suddenly put on the knife, the mask, the hat that they used to wear. I told him, Bukar. I told him, I have recognized you. I told him, I used to give your father fish money when I was in 1996, and I used to give you lunch.
One prison officer, Inspector Nuhadabo, he's from Kalaji. Inspector
Nuhadabo, one prison officer from Kalaji.
If anything happens to me, know that it's Bukar Sala and Korkaba, Ole Natan Kamani prison or Nuhafango Belori.
Well, I told him, if anything happens to me, it is Korkasala, Korkaba, and Bukar Sala who came for me. That night, they handcuffed my hands behind me. They put me on board a pickup, a nylon bag. This $2 nylon bag. When the vehicle was moving, they put it over my head.